to Project Online and Power BI, the best of both worlds. I am Jennifer Ward, aka Jenny, and I will be your host today. Our agenda today will start with introductions, first of myself. My colleague Heather is on the call as well. She is being so gracious as to record the session for us so that it will be available later. Also, we're going to go through Power BI, which I have found to be an incredibly powerful reporting tool. I'm fairly new to Power BI, but I've learned it very quickly and I love it. And I hope that you folks have the same result. We'll go through where and how to get Power BI, getting the content pack, which is specifically what this webinar is focused on. It's a really fantastic pre-made template that allows for a very quick dashboard to be created for your project online environment. And not only will we go through how that works for if you have a Power BI Pro license and are able to access that through your website and your PWA environment, but we'll also demonstrate how to access that even if you don't have a Pro license. If you just have the free license, you can still make great use of that template, both as a learning tool and as a way to create reports on your own environment with just the free Power BI license. And then we'll do an overview of the tool, specifically the content pack on the website, and then also Power BI Desktop, which is the tool that I use all day, every day to create reports in my Windows environment. And then finally, we'll go through the different visualizations that are available. You'll see that there are many, and always new ones are created every month by Microsoft, and those can be downloaded as well on one of the many Power BI websites. There's lots and lots of handy information out there. And then we'll go through some just tips and tricks. And finally, at the end, via the question and answer section on your webinar, you can post questions, and I will do my best to answer them. I'm not going to lie, I am not an expert, but every day I have the opportunity to learn more. And I hope that you guys will find that same thing, that it's a really fantastic community of Power BI users, and we all tend to learn from one another. That works both within my own organization here at PPM Works and also online. I've done lots of reading, and if I don't have an answer for you immediately today, I will get it for you and get back to you. So, like I said, this is the slide I most dislike because I think it's so awkward. I've been in IT for 20 years now, which I know seems impossible because I'm only 26 years old. Not really, but sadly, much older than that. But I most love solving problems and puzzles for clients. I most love hearing those light bulb moments when I go through and explain something and really get a user to understand, okay, this is how you can make the most of the tools at your fingertips. So that's, I think, hopefully what you're going to find on this webinar, that I really, really love what I do. And although webinars do make me a bit nervous, I really enjoy teaching and helping people. So hopefully you get a lot out of the webinar. So now, who are we and why PPM Works? We're a gold Microsoft certified partner, exclusively focused on Microsoft Project, but we also do SharePoint work in Office 365. We have lots of big clients that you can see listed here. And we believe in partnering. That's incredibly important to us. We've done over 225 project server implementations and trained thousands of students and users and executives, delivered dozens of industry presentations just like this one, and also at the Microsoft Project Conference, Project Summit, PMI Conference. We have done hundreds of webcasts and blog articles that you can all find on our website at ppmworks.com. And for the last 3 cycles, we've contributed to the new release of Microsoft Project and Project Server. I can tell you my 2 fantastic colleagues, Cindy and Laura, both have been integral to not only the design and development of the Microsoft Project environments, as have the owners of PPM Works, but they've also developed the tests on which people like myself are graded. So it's really great to work with people with such a wealth of knowledge. We guarantee your success and our results. We really and truly believe that we're not successful until you're a satisfied client reference. Our philosophy is we believe in honesty and integrity, dedication, and our passion for success drives our team. We are a very close-knit team, and we work really well together, and we really enjoy helping you. So, on to the meat, Project Online and Power BI, the best of both worlds. What we're going to do is go through the steps on the PowerPoint presentation first. We're going to kind of take the philosophy of reading all the directions first. I know personally that's something that I never do, so do as I say, not as I do. But we'll go through all the steps, and they'll all be in screenshots on the PowerPoint presentation. And the value of that is that you can then access this PowerPoint presentation after and use it as a cheat sheet to go through the steps yourself if you haven't already done them. So what is Power BI, first of all? Microsoft describes Power BI as a cloud-based business analytics service that gives you a single view of your most critical business data. My translation of that is, from a visual perspective, Power BI is Excel on steroids. I've used Excel for reporting, I've used pivot tables, I've created pie charts, bar graphs, and so forth. This is like taking Excel to a whole other level, as they say. It allows you and organizations to present vivid, visually compelling dashboards to quickly analyze data. You can create interactive reports with the Power BI desktop, which is the Windows application that we'll install on the system, if you haven't already done that. And that application is free. The ability to publish the Power BI reports to a web service requires each viewer of those reports to have the Power BI license. And for the developer, that is to say you, the folks creating the reports, to have the Power BI Pro license. And we'll show, I'll have all the websites for those license details and so forth, so you can learn all about that if you need to do a cost analysis for your organization. But lots of different options, even if you're only going with the free route. I have friends actually who do reporting for their own business. They only use the free version, and really they're not held back at all in that regard, so that's good. But for larger organizations who want the ability to make the reports accessible on websites and constantly refreshing, so that at any time a team member can go to the PWA website and see the Project Online dashboard, that's when the license fees would come into play. Still, I am not at all paid by Microsoft to say this, but I think the price is really incredibly worth it. The bang for your buck is outstanding. The benefits are, it's easy to learn. Like I said, I haven't been doing this for all that long, and I've picked it up very quickly. I am someone who enjoys reporting, and I'm analytical, but it's very easy to use, and the community help is really outstanding. It's free, as I mentioned, and I know I'm a data nerd, but I really think it's fun. Hopefully you will too. Another benefit, I know that we're focusing specifically on Project Online, but just so you have a full understanding of the tool, you can pull data really from practically anywhere. Google Analytics, Excel files, if you have all your data stored in an Excel file, or somebody's provided you data in a CSV file, you can report visually on that. You can pull directly from SQL databases via the OData feed and the SQL Server feed. Both of those will allow for SQL connections. The one that we will use for Project Online is the OData feed, which allows us to directly connect to the Project Online specific tables. So that will be via OData feed. And then text files even. If you've got raw data in a text file, comma delimited, myriad options there for text files. You can report there as well. When I first started to learn about Power BI, I saw a demonstration, I think it was probably on YouTube, where someone pulled web search results from Google. So you could go and see how often Tesla was looked up on Google in the past month. Just fantastic access to information. And then with that data, you can create multiple reports. And you can have the data represented in different visualizations. So if you've got a group of users who prefer pie charts and another group of users who prefer bar charts, you can have the same data presented in many different ways, depending on the desire of the user. So here's your cheat sheet slide. This goes through what you'll need. So as we discussed, you're going to need the Power BI desktop. I probably should have put that as the first bullet, but the Power BI desktop will be the application in which we develop the reports, okay? That's accessible here via this link. Really, everything that you need to find is going to be under Power BI Microsoft.com. In this case, we're using the English US version, but whatever works for you. If English is not your first language, they have it in practically every language you can think of. And then you can access the desktop app, the download there for free, the pricing for the not free versions, all accessible via this initial link here, powerbi.microsoft.com, okay? And then what we might want to get after the fact is the content pack. That's the template that we'll go through that will have that really handy made template that will give you an immediate and beautifully visual representation of your project online data. And then finally, what we won't cover in this webinar, but is easily accessible, is the Power BI mobile app. So if you've got that Project Pro license and you're publishing to your website, and you've got users that are on the road all day, every day, and need to be able to access that via an application, you can download that mobile app there, accessible for Android and iPhone at the very least, and I'm hoping for the Microsoft store as well. I know that my better half has a Microsoft phone, and although they've stopped supporting that phone, I believe that the application is available for that device. So once you have those, your account, and you have the desktop installation installed, and presuming that you have the Power BI Pro license, what we'll do is we'll start here. So this is going to be your own location on your project environment, your own Power BI local instance, where you can go and you can download the apps to get the project online content pack that we're going to get. Now, if you're in this, you don't have to have the Power BI license. For now, this is what you would need the Power BI Pro license to get to this, okay? We'll get to the other access method shortly, but for now, this is only for users with the Power BI Pro license, okay? So you'd go to apps, you'd go to get apps. Right now, I'm kind of sad, like frowny face here. I don't have any apps here on this screenshot. If you do have any apps already, this button up here is in the top right corner of the screen up here instead, but very easy to find, okay? And then what you'll do is you'll click on the apps, and just like you would in the iPhone store or the Microsoft store, you'll go and you'll just type what the application is called, or even a variation of what you think the application is called. If you just type project here, you're going to get a few more selections, but Microsoft Project Online is what is going to show, and that's the content pack to which we are referring, okay? So then you'll be able to just click Get It Now. And then we'll come back to this as well. This is the option for those who do not have the Power BI Pro license. This is the way you can actually just download the template to your own computer, open it in Power BI Desktop directly, and then set the data source, and then manipulate or publish the report from there. You won't necessarily be able to publish it based on your license, but you could always save the project, the Power BI file, that is a PBIX file, with other users, so they could open it on their own version of Power BI Desktop that they have. Okay, so again, lots of solutions for not spending any money here, still with lots and lots of options for providing the reports to other users, whether or not they are licensed. Now we're ready. Woohoo! So we're going to get started. The first thing that we are going to do is I'm going to go back to the slide that I showed you with the cheat sheets, and I am going to open them up. So as you can see, by default, I am not signed in here, okay? But it's very easy for me. I'm just going to click sign in. I already have an account, so I'm just going to select, you know, when I sign into other clients' accounts, this will also show up here, so it won't just show my PPM Works account. That may be the case for you as well, but it should be your organizational account that appears here once you've signed up for Power BI. So we'll click there. And that is going to bring us to the Power BI area that I told you about, this apps.powerbi.com. And here is where my apps are. So see, this is the groups/me/apps. And these are all of the apps that I have. Now, I was lucky when I showed you the screenshot, I didn't have any apps in there, so I gave the frowny face. And now I do. My colleague Kieran has uploaded a new dashboard that he's created. So I have access to that report on my Power BI Pro license account for PPM Works. Now, as I mentioned, my Get Apps icon is up here on the top right corner. So I'm going to click that. And this is where my organization apps will show up here. Okay, so I do have some now, so it defaults to that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to apps, and we're going to search for apps here. And because I've searched for it so many times, it already showed on the home screen there. But I just typed in project. You can see I get a few choices there. If I type in, if I can type it correctly, project online, it's going to give me exactly the one I need. Okay, so this is the content pack that we need. So we're going to click Get It Now. And then the next thing it's going to ask for is our environment. I'm just going to pull up my taskbar here so that I can copy my environment, maybe, if it lets me. Bear with me for a minute. And we've got a shortcut environment here that we can use. I'm going to paste that there, okay? So that's the URL that we're going to use, okay? In our case, I'm going to use the sandbox just because that's what I demonstrate in, okay? For you, it may be your SharePoint site /PWA. Whatever your PWA environment is, that's what you need to do here, okay? So we're going to click Next. And then it's going to ask me for what credentials I want to use. And I'm going to use my Windows credentials, and I'm going to sign in. And it's going to give me an error, of course, because it wouldn't be any fun if it didn't do that. So bear with me for a minute. I'm going to try our regular environment instead. I'm not sure why it's prompting me for credentials here because I'm signed in. There we go. Sorry about that. It was the OAuth was what I needed to select. That is actually different than what you have to select in Power BI, so that's why I was thrown, so forgive me. In the desktop app, you have to select Windows authentication, but it was the other method here. So that's installing right now. That will take a minute. Al, I see you have a question. You can chat it in. You can send it in chat while this is opening. Okay, and then what we'll do is we are now ready to open this application. So click on it. Al has asked, what happens if we don't have Project Online? And that's a good question. We'll get to that actually. We can pull data. We won't specifically cover it in this webinar, but you can pull that data in the same way that you could pull directly from Project Online tables, SQL tables. You could pull them from you could pull them from the Excel version of that data. So whatever your data source may be, you can pull from there. I mean, really, if you have a Microsoft competitor product, you probably could pull directly from there if you have database access or any type of comma delimited file that you can query. It would allow that to be accessed. So this is what the dashboard looks like when you first open it. Now, at first, it may not seem like it's terribly exciting, admittedly. I mean, we're such a good organization, we don't have any active issues happening, but we do have some active risks. We've got 43 possible resources that would consist of both user resources and cost resources and so forth. 113 current projects we have in our development environment. And we've got resource availability tables here, resource assignment work tables here. And then what we can do is we can just ask a question. You can see if you type how many, it'll take a few minutes the first time. So how many projects, if I give a little more information, it will show all different options for reports where you can just get quick answers here. Now, what's really cool, I have a Microsoft Surface myself, which I love, but if I had Cortana available, what I really could do is I could click on the microphone here and say, hey, Cortana, how many projects do I have? And she would answer by giving this, okay? So if you're looking for the option of being able to interface vocally with the dashboard, you can do that as well, okay? You can click specifically on these and drill down into them, okay? And so you can see not only the visuals, but you can see the raw data below, the start and finish of the projects, the percent of work complete, the number of hours of work. If you want to go by resource name here, I'm going to pick Laura just because she has a bit more data in here than I do. You can see all the things to which she is assigned. She's a busy woman, clearly. You can do the same thing if you switch back and forth. See, it shows much less for me, but those are the assignments that I have. And Cindy, this is all test data. But then you can go back and you can select everyone again and just see all of the data together, okay? So it's very user-friendly. You can look at all of these reports specifically. You can drill down into them. You can filter once you're in them. You can use these slicers that are up at the top here. So if you want to pick just a particular project type here, you can do that. So say we just want internal projects, those can show. For this data, we don't really have any internal projects listed, but depending on what kind of project type categories you have in your environment, it might be really handy. Say you've got to look at all of the IT projects, you can filter by that very quickly. If you want to filter by a specific project manager, who in the case of Project Online, as you may know, is the person who publishes the file, therefore the project owner, you can filter here. This can all be changed with the download of that template. Say that you don't use the term project owner, you would instead just want that to say project manager. That can be changed in this slicer section. If you saw there when I hovered for a minute, let's see if I can get this to do the same thing. You get to the point where you can see that this is actually a specific section on the page. So here's where that, I can get it to do it again. There's where that slicer ends. And here's where the next one begins, maybe, if I can do it. Yep. So each of these is one individual slicer that then will let you filter the report below. All pre-made for you. I just saw your question, Dave, forgive me. The content pack can be pointed to pull data from an on-prem version of Project Server. Yes, it can. So in the same way, like in that sense, the desktop is not going to have any sense of where the URL is pulling from, because it's actually just going to be the PWA URL address that you enter into the system. So yes, you can do that is the answer to the question. Lots of information about that online. I mean, granted, they're pushing everyone toward Project Online, but yeah, you absolutely can report on a Project Server on-prem environment. Yep. Okay, so let's move on to where we get this if we don't have the specific Project Pro license, and therefore won't be viewing this online. Okay, so we can go and we can download. I'm not going to go through these steps because I already have it, but you can go to this site here and you can download the zip file. And again, this link will be easily available to you in the PowerPoint file available after this webinar is over. But it lets you download the template file. So a standard a standard Power BI file is PBIX, but it will be a template file. So it will be a PBIT file that you actually will download. It'll come through as a zip file. You'll then be able to unzip it, save it wherever it's handy, so that then we can go into Power BI desktop and open it, okay? So let's do that. I'm going to go into Power BI. Just going to wait for that to open. So this is our Power BI desktop environment. Okay, so this is where all the fun happens. This is where you're going to go and you're going to connect to data. You're going to be able to pull your reports here. You can see all of the standard visualizations are available here. Once we open the data source, you can pick whatever source that you want. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to open the template just so you can see how that works. Okay, so I'm going to go to open here. And for me, I had it in my downloads folder here. Okay, so I've got the Power BI content packs master. That's what I pulled in just a few days ago. And then we're going to open it all the way. Okay, now this is the demo that I've already created. This is not the file we need. And the reason that we don't yet see the template file we need is what I just mentioned. It is not a PBIX file, it's a PBIT file. So we're going to have to click here and switch this to look for PBIT files, okay? So now we see what we're looking for. Microsoft Project Online, Power BI Content Pack. And we're going to open that. And hopefully I've got that in there, which I do. Okay, now I am going to let you in on a little secret. This morning I had what I consider a minor heart attack when I could not connect to our sandbox environment. I think it likes to test me and make sure that I'm calm and prepared for these webinars. And so I tried several times and it kept giving me invalid credentials. And I'm like, I know I can get to it because I could get to our PWA site. Well, it was my fault because I left out an important step. In Project Online Power BI, you need to add an additional piece of information to the end of this URL, okay? And you'll find this all over the Power BI website information, but it's just something that's going to be good for you to keep handy. So what you need to put at the end is _API / project data. Once you have that, after your standard PWA URL, it's hopefully not going to jinx me like it did just a minute ago, but I'm tempting fate and I'm going to click load now. And then you'll see the data begin to load. And you'll see up here, this yellow bar here is something that you will see very often as you start to create reports. This is showing that pending changes in your queries are being applied, okay? So it's working on queries right now. It's doing work in the background, and so it keeps that there so you know, okay, hold on a second, I'm still thinking. It's kind of like, don't look at me yet, I'm not ready. And that's just a handy warning that you get at the top of the screen. So we'll let that load. And then once we do, we see that same data come through that just came through on the website, except the difference here is that here we can manipulate it. So each of these, this is the part that I find the most fascinating and the best learning opportunity here on in the desktop app, is that you can really see how they're putting together the reports. Okay, so when I first started to do these reports, oh lordy, they were ugly. They looked like basic Excel spreadsheets, no color. I worked for days on just trying to get the font to look somewhat attractive. I just thought they were hideous, and I was really discouraged by that. But when I got my hands on this and I saw how they actually put all of these together to look so professional, it was a really great learning opportunity for me. So I encourage you to do that, to really, even down here, if we're looking at this project portfolio dashboard, they come through just like a worksheet would in Excel. So you've got the worksheets down here at the bottom. You can duplicate the page, okay? And then it will come through. I've got my dashboard here that's blocking my view. Sorry about that. I get the web controls, and then that blocks my view that I need to see. So bear with me for a minute. There we go. It will let you copy. So you can go over here and you've got the dashboard. You can go through all the next ones, resource availability. And if we look at this one, we'll just presume this is a copy. Okay, yep, it is. Duplicate there. Now I can see it. Duplicate of portfolio dashboard. So now what we can do is we can move these, and so you can see where they are. And so say what if you decide, oh, you know what, we use project type more often, so I want project type to be on the left. That's really what they're going to filter by most often. And department, not as much. They're not going to filter by that as much, so I'd rather have that to the left of that. You can see that if we hover here, this is actually blocking some of that view, but it's really below that. So just like in a PowerPoint presentation where you can put objects below and above, that's exactly how these are laid out, so that when you're not hovering anywhere over it, it lays out with the titles of these pie charts and bar graphs right up against the slicers on the top. Okay? So we can use these slicers here, again, like if we filter here by IT projects, then that's really going to narrow those down, okay? If we click again, then that will reset it back to all. You can also set it to blank, where no project type or department rather is selected. And the same thing, then you can toggle that off as well. You'll find, because of the way that it's designed, there are times when you go to click into this, and what happens is this becomes the active box instead. So it's just a matter of clicking back in that box and waking it up again. Okay, so that's stuff that you'll get used to. If we go here, okay, let's just select this department slicer over here. You can see here that you've got the field, okay, so the slicer visualization is selected here on the right, and the department is the only field that's in there. So we've got the tables here on the right, and project department is the only field that's listed in that slicer. And that's exactly what shows. We've got one slicer with department, okay? We can change the visualization on that. And we can show the background. We've got a background color of green. Well, what if we want to draw more attention to that? We can change the color there, okay? So this is all, it's by this paint roller is where the whole slides, where the whole styles thing is. Lots of different options there where you can change the header, you can turn it off and on, same with the title, background off and on. You can put background pictures. I had a client who wanted their logo to be kind of semi-transparent in the background of all of their graphs, and it looked really great. You just have to import those pictures. That's all possible here. Once you download this template, like see right now I've got this as an untitled file. While you're in learning mode, I encourage you, just save them as all different names. You know, if you've got one where you're just going to mess with all the colors and the font sizes and the styles and learning how to lay things out, you can call that your PBIX style practice file, okay? And the same thing with filters. If you're looking how to really filter down data in the most effective way, you can set that there as well. So all of these things are at your fingertips within the visualizations. This one here, you can see it is set to the donut chart, but as I mentioned, you can toggle back and forth. And so you could change it to a pie chart. Oh, I don't know if I like the pie chart better. I guess the donut looked better. It's a little easier on the eyes, okay? The same with this one, like, oh, well, what if I want them consistently to be donut charts across the top? Maybe I just want everything to remind me of donuts, like Homer Simpson. That's what you can do, okay? So you can toggle back and forth very easily, okay? If you like the, I can never remember, bar graph columns, the column chart might work, the bar graph might work, whatever you think is the best visualization, you can just toggle back and forth between those here until you like what you see. More specifically, until you think the visualization most accurately and easily portrays the data that you're trying to communicate to your team. Okay. Now, in this particular template, there are myriad tables here that are available. I'm going to show you where those are available from. Okay. And then we're going to have to get to question and answers because we're already nearly at 20 of. I just want to make sure that we have enough time. So if we go here to File, New, it's going to open on my main screen, and then I'll drag it over to the desktop that I'm sharing. Just bear with me. It's opening now. Okay, so we're going to drag it over. And then I am going to go to this handy Get Data section here. Okay, so we have an external data section right here. Okay, and for me, something that's handy is I've got in recent sources here my sandbox environment already. Okay, so that's where I'm going to pull from. But if you don't yet have that, the way to do that is to go and choose an OData feed. Okay, hopefully I still have that. I do in my clipboard. Okay, and then again, we're going to add that URL extension here to the end. Okay, so _API/project data, and then we're going to click OK. So all we need is the basic connection here. I'm already logged in to Power BI Desktop, so it's going to use my credentials. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. And then what it does is it shows me all the tables from which I can pull data. Okay, so I could literally check all of these if I wanted to, so that all of those would show up just like they did on the previous template. Okay, that template was showing all of the places from which data was being pulled into those template dashboard reports. Okay, but if I say only wanted to see the projects table, because I say just wanted to pull in a very simple report of project names, okay? And I can do that, and I can just load this table. So I'm going to do that. And then again, it's going to show like, hold on, I'm not ready yet. I'll be ready in a minute. So here you can see now with the projects table available on the right, you've then got all of the possible fields that you can pull in. Now the projects table will include any project level enterprise custom fields that you've created in your environment. Okay, so I know in the past it was always a nightmare to pull in the enterprise custom fields, because those would actually only show up in the user view tables. And so it was always this game. My dear friend and colleague of mine who happens to be on the webinar today, Al, and I used to go through this game of entering information with crazy words like rutabaga and zebra in various fields so that we could then go and hunt them down and find them in the user view tables so we'd know what field to pull, you know, end text 28 or and so forth. That all of that headache is gone now, because these will just pull into the project level table. You know, so if you've got a project enterprise field, it will be in the projects table. I believe the task level enterprise field will be in the tasks table, and so forth. Super handy. Brad, I see your question. Has Microsoft resolved the data issues with presenting Project 2013 data in Project 2016? I will have to check on that answer. The last I heard, there was still issues where you don't want some people in your environment using Project 2016 and others using 2013. They're pretty diligent with wanting users to be on a consistent application level. But I will take a note on that question, and I will add that. I'll talk to Heather. I think what I could do is I could even add the answer to that question to the PowerPoint presentation that will be accessible to all of you, okay? Or I can get you that answer directly. So I think that here, what is so cool to me is that, say we're going to add a table. We just want that simple table that we talked about. All we do is we click on that table visualization, and it puts a table right here on the slide, okay? And so with that selected, now I'm just going to do this real quick and then we're going to move on. We can put the project name field in here. Now we can scroll down like I'm scrolling now, or we can just use the filter up here and then very easily find it and drag the project name field there, okay? So there you go, quick list of all the projects, okay? If you say wanted to quickly filter out anything that had test in it, then you could go down here and you could filter, and you could do one of two things. Like basic filtering will allow you to say I only wanted to see 3 of these projects. That's what we can do, is we can filter here, okay? But if you wanted to do advanced filtering, show items that does not contain test, and then we apply the filter and excludes any project that has the word test in the title, okay? Myriad options here again with filters, and lots of information available. Before we wrap up, I want to show you here, this help tab at the top of the screen is going to be your best friend, okay? Support is what's going to lead you to any issues that you're having. If you're looking for documentation or training videos, that's all going to bring you to the Power BI website, where there's the community of bloggers who are always looking and questioning and answering questions. Every question that I have had in Power BI, I have been able to get an answer from there, okay? So even for clients with really kind of intricate report issues that I just frankly didn't know how to solve initially, I found all of the answers there. So you'll find it to be a really valuable resource. Okay, so let's just go to the tips and tricks section. We went through recent sources. Okay, on that external data section, you can always drag down. Once you've got your data source in there, then it's very easily accessible in the future. We went through toggling between the visualizations so that you can look at something in the donut view like we did, and then in the pie chart view, and you can switch back and forth between all of those views until you find the one that best presents your data. We went through filters, where they are and how you can use them. And that's a very big area, but we just touched on that on a really high level, 10,000 foot view, as they say. And then in the format section, that's the place where you're really going to make things pretty or ugly. I mean, maybe you don't like someone, you want to give them a really ugly report. You can do that too. Whatever the most hideous color combination is you can think of, you can do that. And then finally, the help tab on the ribbon is really going to be your friend. This is where you can search for anything that you want. Google is also your friend. I literally will just type questions, how do you do X in Power BI? And it 9 times out of 10 will bring me, the first hit will be the answer that I need. It's just remarkable. And Microsoft is every single month making improvements and additions to the software. So we're going to open it up to additional questions now. I know we've got 12 people on the call now, so if I can't get to all of your questions, please forgive me. I'll do my best. Dummy projects are available, Dave. I see that question. Again, you can do that in Power BI in the website. You can get all of that information, again, if you just Google dummy projects. I have had clients who I'm developing dashboards for, and the difficulty I have in developing the dashboard is that they don't have enough data in their environments yet, of course, because it hasn't gone live yet, for me to really be able to test and make sure that I'm pulling accurate information. So I have kind of a collection of files that I do just really simple stuff. I make sure they're baselined. I make sure resources are assigned. I make sure that there are milestone tasks and so forth. Any number of things that you're going to want to report on. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. I have those in my files, and then you load those as the test files, you publish them, and then you can use those. That being said, you definitely could find those on Microsoft, because you can't see the data without data. So yes, absolutely. And bless you also. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, from Tom Green. Hi, Tom. Is there a way to relate task and resource level data in Power BI? I have a task level field that identifies capital costs, but want to create report grouped by resource using this task level field. You absolutely can. So what you'd need to do is, when you pull in that data, when you have the OData feed up, you can select the resource table, the project table, and the task table. So what that will allow is there will be a unique identifier between the 3 of those tables. And this is the awesome part, that Power BI will set up itself. Now, there will certainly be circumstances where you're going to need to do some of that joining yourself. I've even had situations where I've needed to create custom fields that allow for the joining of 2 different tables. That is really a rarity. But I can tell you there are out-of-the-box resource reports that will be available even in this content pack, that will show you, to associate which tasks are assigned to which resources and so forth. Let me make sure I have a task level field that identifies capital cost, but want to create report grouped by resource. Yes, so you absolutely can group by resource. So when I showed you the table visualization, you'd actually use the matrix visualization, which is right near it, and that will allow you to group. So you'd group by the resource using the matrix visualization. And the same kind of thing applies. Then you can filter by resource. It will allow you to filter by resource type, so that if you've got, say, a bunch of generic resources in there that you don't want to show in the report because they're just generic resources, you can exclude those, you know. So in my old organization, we'd use PH to identify the placeholder resources. So you could filter out anything that contains placeholder, or you can use the resource type field that's available and filter those out, because Project Online will allow you to actually identify if it's a generic or a named resource. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Incredible praise? Okay, so let's go to the next slide, just so you can see where you can find us. So you can connect with me, please do. I'm always looking for new LinkedIn connections, and it's a good way for you to be able to easily find my email address and reach out to me directly if you like. You can connect with me there. Our website is ppmworks.com, super easy. We have fantastic blogs written by my colleagues that are available there, so you can search for lots of different information. Here's my main call to action that I really encourage you to do. I am somebody who, I consider myself infamous for having a terrible memory, and I'll learn something and I'll go through it and I'll fully and 100% grasp it, and then I have to move on to other things for 2 weeks, and then I finally get back to looking at it and I have no idea where the first places I'm supposed to click. I'm terrible with that. So I encourage you, even if you only download that content pack that I showed you from GitHub, go and do that, download Power BI Desktop, and save 5 different versions of the file and intentionally try to break it. That is the way that you're going to learn, because that's the way we all have to learn. There's no shame in breaking things and then having to fix them, figure out why they broke, and kind of really seeing the background of how Microsoft themselves are putting together these reports, because that's the most valuable learning tool that you'll find. You'll see what filters they're using, you'll see which visualizations they select to accomplish different things, like the slicers that we showed and the donut reports, and how you can filter. That's really going to be your best tool for learning. And then the Power BI website, where you're just going to find all kinds of people that have no idea what they're doing, like complete range of skills, complete amateurs to really incredible developers that are giving very complex answers to questions that admittedly are going to be over your head. I find the same thing, but those are the sites that I most learn from. Like, even if I can't grasp everything that they're explaining to me there, I get enough where I say, oh, okay, I didn't realize that that's how that worked. And then that allows you to take it to the next level yourself. Finally, here's where we are. We have an office on Newbury Street in Boston, and you can always email us at info@ppmworks.com. We encourage comments on the webinars there. You know, I take all kinds of comments, constructive criticism, whatever I can do to do a better job next time. I welcome that response. So I encourage you to reach out to us. And please visit our website. Like I said, lots of blog posts. That's where our webinar will be posted after the fact, and we'll get that information to you. That's all that we've got for today, folks. Thank you very much for joining. I hope you guys all love Power BI as much as I do. Like I said, am a total nerd about it now. I go on and on about it to my family. I think they're getting sick of it. So I hope that you all have the same result and find what an incredible tool it is for you as well. Have a great day.